I'm not particularly fond of camping. I prefer sleeping in a place with roofs, walls, furniture, plumbing. But some hobbies force you into mild discomfort, insisting that you sleep outside. For me, it's rock climbing and maybe the occasional outdoor music festival. However, I'm not a civil engineer, nor do I have the budget for couples therapy. So I decided to bypass the need to pitch a tent completely and get this Quechua 2-second pop-up tent. It's a solution for people who don't like camping, but still need to camp. I know that's a very specific demographic, but I know there are people out there just like me. I purchased this tent a couple months ago simply because it ticked most of the boxes within my criteria on what I was looking for. And honestly, you might just be surprised at how comprehensive and robust this tent actually is. This is the 3-person XL version, and yes, this is a new updated model or design released within the last half a year or so, which seemed to have corrected a lot of its previous flaws. But it's barely marketed, with no name change, no version number, and no real indication that there has been an updated or redesign, and therefore there's not a lot of reviews out there actually for this new version, or at least they're not very easy to find. So although I'm quite an outdoor amateur, I'm hoping that I can provide some valuable insight. The 2-second setup. I remember coming across a reviewer that got genuinely upset that this tent didn't actually take 2 seconds to pitch. Like, visibly upset that they marketed it as 2 seconds, but it wasn't really the case.
Complete lie. There's nothing about this tent that sets up in 2 seconds. I mean, plain and simple, the company is just flat out lying.
Technically, it's true. If you're able to undo or unclip the buckles in the tent, it can become its full usable form within 2 seconds. But realistically, as with any other tent, if you don't want it flying away, you're going to have to peg it down and set up the guidelines. So the first time that I set up this tent in a realistic setting at an actual campsite, it took us about 10 to 15 minutes. This was to kind of figure out what we were doing, read the instructions a bit, position the tent to where we wanted it, and to also obviously pitch it to the ground. But once you've done it once, you could probably knock that down to around 5 minutes with a bit of practice. The appeal to me though is not that it's necessarily faster to pitch, but that it's simply easier. You're not having to deal with poles or diagrams, sleeves, etc., etc. Anyway, if you read the comments on that video or on many various Reddit posts that outline or review this tent, you'll see that it's actually very widely praised within, or especially within, European festival culture. And for someone like me who tends to sleep in a lot of the time, the blackout fabric on the inside is a genuinely comforting touch.
In my opinion, this feature is just about worthless. I do not know who is sleeping in the middle of the day inside of their tent.
The thing is surprisingly very, very spacious. Of course, I got the 3XL because I'm a city slicker who enjoys my comfort. In fact, I tried setting it up inside the house the day that I bought it, just out of, excitement, and I really struggled to find a location indoors that would actually fit the entire diameter of the tent. I managed to fit a double mattress on the inside and still had ample space on either side of the mattress for storage of bags or clothes. In fact, we had enough space to store the camping chairs. We folded them up and put them on the inside of the tent to prevent condensation overnight. I went with the XL specifically because of the little vestibule out in the front of the tent, which is really helpful if you want to just have a place to stash any dirty equipment, dirty muddy shoes, anything you don't necessarily want in your sleeping zone. There are plenty of internal pockets, and also a little line in the front of the tent, which, to be honest, I can't necessarily figure out what it is for. I kind of just assumed it's a laundry line to hang, I don't know, drying clothes or towels. But to be honest, it's not taut enough to truly be an effective laundry line, but it's there nevertheless. A previous criticism I found for the older models of this tent were that the windows weren't very breathable. The mesh on the windows weren't a very breathable material. And they appear to have changed that, and they are now quite effective, still preventing bugs from entering, but still allowing you to get airflow. You can open the sides, the back, and the main door wide open, while still having the option to close it at night. The double-walled design still allows you to get air in while keeping you dry during heavy downpour. The window flap mechanism has also been changed to a very satisfying new design. Previously, to get better ventilation, you'd have to reach outside the windows and hook these window flaps onto the guy lines. Now there's a stiff pulley system attached to the zips from the inside that automatically opens the vents when you unzip it. Sometimes it's a little bit too stiff and you have to give it a little bit of a push or some assistance with another hand, but I feel like it's still a very satisfying and nice quality of life change. On that note, one of my must-haves was to be really confident in the weather resistance of this tent, and it seems to be very reliable. All the seams are taped. Again, the tent is thoroughly double-walled while still allowing ample airflow. Last thing I want to mention, which is an improvement on the old design yet again, is within the zip design of the front entrance. My buddy who's been using this tent for years warned me that the zips often fail because it's very taut and there's a lot of tension in the front entrance, and they only use a single continuous zip along the entire entrance. This secondary entrance, or mesh cover, used to be the same design as this front entrance with just one zip. They've now made the entrance a split design, making it ergonomically a lot more comfortable to open too. The outdoor entrance outside of the vestibule still has the older design, but now you're probably going to be using it a lot less, so hopefully a decreased chance of failure. Folding the tent up, however, is quite a learning curve. First things first, take out the guy lines. Should probably also take these out. That's not a bad idea. Then we reach here, and you come out. The whole idea is to get it to fold in a circular type of pattern. We just clip the buckles in there. Now we just try to make sure that this shape is somewhat congruent with an oval or a circle. The bottom looks like a little bit of a mess, but it flattens. That's about almost a circle. There is one that you just cannot get to go like very spherical. I think it's just the nature of this shape. And then there's two more buckles here. There. Cool. Last thing you got to do, make sure that there's roughly the same amount of material on both halves, just so it packs nicely. The real trick is to just follow the instructions and not worry about breaking it. Truly use some force if you have to. This tent, just like that. And then up and over itself. And then once you get the hang of it, it's pretty easy. Things don't look too great right now. Keep in mind, it's also been 2 months since I've done this. I just kind of winged it. I just like to make it look all nice and neat. But that's it. Bob's your auntie-in-law. You can now tighten the strap so that things don't come apart. Last but not least, make sure all of your pegs are in one place. Now, it's all about fitting this in here. Bada bing, bada boom. All done. Quite honestly, there aren't many downsides, but just compromises. There's no product that is and does everything. I really wanted a tent that I could stand in. Just that comfort of being able to change clothing while standing instead of having to lie down and awkwardly maneuver yourself. But, you know, you can't have everything. However, that's another reason I went with the 3XL, because it sits at around 105 centimeters at the short end and 116 centimeters at the taller end, which is just a few centimeters or few inches taller than the 2 and the 3 person regular versions of the tent. And don't expect to take this thing backpacking or hiking. It folds, as you can see, into a giant disc that weighs just over 6 kilograms. So carrying it and even packing it for travel can be a little bit awkward. But the plus side is that you can quite conveniently squish it very flat, so you're able to fit it in between tight spaces or underneath or above your luggage. Still something to consider if you have a smaller car like me. So if you want a lightweight hiking tent, then get a lightweight hiking tent. If you want something that's quick and comfortable that you can use for a convenient getaway weekend, then I don't think you can really go wrong with this, to be honest. Decathlon's prices here aren't as competitive as in, say, Europe, for example. But even still, after scouring local brands, used deals, specials, this still felt like a good deal, considering how much it offers within one package. It is a marginal step up in quality compared to the budget options, but still offers a lot more features and comfort or size than the premium options. I'm quite happy so far, and soon I will be testing this thing out in the harsh South African winter. But until then, it has served me well. Thank you for watching. I love you. Bye-bye.